welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do a really quick and casual video. I'm like in my kitchen, but I wanted to do a really quick video kind of doing a like part 2 of why I quit teaching video. That video has gotten so many comments, responses from educators just commenting on how they're feeling and their thoughts on leaving the profession. And so I wanted to do a follow-up of why I quit teaching and like kind of how I feel now almost a year after quitting teaching, because my last day was in May, like at the end of last year. So it's almost been a year, and so I feel that I can give my perspective of, I guess, you know, just how it is on the other side after leaving education and what I've learned in the past couple of months. So yeah, it's gonna be a really quick, laid back video. I didn't prepare anything for it, but I thought I just would do a follow-up since I've gotten such a huge response from that video. So without further ado, so it has been a couple of months since I quit teaching, and I do currently have a new job, and I work still in education, but not like I'm not a teacher or anything. I work remote for a company that does online PD, and I do like implementation for them. So I do still get to work with educators, and I love it. I think it was the best decision that I made. I'm getting to learn a lot of awesome new things that I am interested in, and I'm getting to grow my career in a way that I didn't really think I was going to be able to do that if I stayed in teaching. And just as a background, if this is the first video you've ever seen of mine, I taught for 7 years. I was a elementary bilingual teacher in the state of Texas, and I was a teacher for 7 years, like I just said. So I did not get my degree in education. I got a degree in public relations and business, but I wanted to teach, so I got alternatively certified. It was my first job out of college, and I stayed there for 7 years. And so this job that I have now is only my second job out of college, and I've been out of college for a while now. So yeah, it's been a really amazing opportunity, and I have never been happier. I never knew that you could have a work-life balance, because when you're a teacher, you don't really have that. And I mean, there were multiple people who were commenting on the video that I did. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it down below, saying, you know, there's so much pressure, I'm constantly overworked, and I just feel for everyone who is still feeling that way, because I just remember feeling that way and constantly feeling anxiety and stress, and it just sucks, you know, like no one wants to feel that way, and I did not feel that way. I mean, I always kind of felt overworked and stressed, because I think that's just the nature of that profession. Every job is stressful, but that profession in general is just super stressful. I mean, you're dealing with children, obviously, and children, it's an important job, obviously, and these children belong to parents like me and like you, if you have kids, who really value and care their kids and want the best for them. And so that's why I think a lot of the times parents put this insane pressure on teachers, but it should not be that way. Their children, my child is important to me, and I want the best for him in his education, but I would never put that on a teacher. That's my job as a parent to make sure he gets that. Obviously, I want him to have a good education, but I wouldn't say that that's all on a teacher. Obviously, there's special cases. There's some teachers who, you know, I don't know, they shouldn't be teaching. But yeah, overall, I think how I'm feeling is, yeah, I just feel so happy to be able to have a work-life balance and to be able to grow my career and learn and have these new amazing opportunities that I've been able to have in the past couple of months. And so I know that a lot of people are also saying this is their last year, they don't want to do this anymore, and I have 2 things to say about that. One, if you're a brand new teacher, because I know that there were a couple of people who commented on that video who were either still in college, you know, not graduated yet, or who were in their first year. This is what I'm going to say to those people. If this is your first year, maybe even your second, if you haven't graduated from college, don't take advice from others. I mean, I know I don't mean it in that way. What I mean is, do not form opinions until you have actually stepped foot in a classroom, because how you feel and how I felt and how another person feels doesn't mean that that's how you're gonna feel. You may step into that classroom and be a young and enthusiastic teacher, ready to go and just thrive, because to be honest, that's how I felt for the first 4 years. I mean, I loved my job. I had a great time. I just loved it. Obviously things later on happened that made me feel differently, but that does not mean that you are going to feel the same way. I think that if it is in your heart, it's your passion to teach, I definitely think that you should still do it. Don't feel overwhelmed by a lot of the comments that you're seeing, because yes, right now education is hard because obviously COVID, but before COVID, things were not like this. So hopefully COVID is not something that is forever. And so you may feel differently. So I definitely think you should try it. And if you go into it and you decide this isn't for me, know that there are many other options that you can do if that isn't what you want to do forever, And second of all, what was I saying? For people who are new into the profession, definitely don't take others' opinions into consideration without you actually having tried education yourself. But also, if you are already feeling stressed, then just know that you have a whole year, and in the summer at least in Texas, I still got paid, so I was able to really decide what I wanted to do during that time that I was off, and either go back or not. So for those of you who are feeling stressed and are just unhappy in your career, this is what I'll say to you: leave. Because honestly, it is not worth your mental health, your mental stability, staying at a job that you are unhappy at. And for me, I know I saw a couple of comments of people saying it's easier if you're married and someone else has can support you or whatever. That was not the case for me all the time, and that was never going to be an option anyways. So when I wanted to quit teaching, my husband was still in college, and so I couldn't just up and quit, because obviously that would have caused us to have one less income, and that just wasn't something that I wanted to do. And second of all, I want to work. I never didn't want to work, so it was never an option for me to not have a job. Sure, we had saved a couple, of months worth of salary so that we would be okay if I didn't get a job right after I left teaching, but thankfully that didn't happen. But I just made that decision consciously myself because I was no longer happy. My quality of life was genuinely just bad. I was sad, depressed, anxious all the time, and I just realized that a job is not worth it. Why was I sitting there for 7 years unhappy when I could have easily done something about it and just left? And I wish I would have done it earlier, before I kind of waited a little bit too long. There was a point in my career, I think at the 5-year mark, where I was like, I'm ready to go. But I didn't, because I was scared, or I was like, what if I don't find a job? I'm nervous. What if I don't make enough money? And all of those thoughts caused me to continue to stay. And essentially, if I would have never snapped out of it, I would have still been at a job I was no longer happy at. And that applies to any job you have. I just feel now that I'm older and I have a family that I'm just not gonna allow myself to be unhappy for a job. If something's not making me happy, then I need to do something about it and find out what I wanna do next, And this might be, I don't know if this is good to say, because I know that there's people who have not found a job and it's hard to find a job. I went through thousands of interviews, not really, but a lot of interviews, and didn't get jobs. But just like you're replaceable at a job, a job's replaceable too, I feel. And so while it may not happen immediately and you may not find a job in the first month that you start applying, if you really sit down and say, I'm gonna apply every day. I used to spend hours applying, hours and hours and hours, and I would get so many no's, and I was like, crap, and it sucks. Like, it freaking sucks. But because I continued and persisted, I eventually landed the job that I have now. And I feel that if you're unhappy and you put your mind and say, okay, I'm no longer happy here, I'm leaving, like, come up with a plan, right? Maybe you can't leave yet. And like, there was, I think 2 years ago, right before COVID hit, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And my husband's like, well, we don't have a plan. Like, you can't just quit and not have a job. That's not, because he was still in college. So he's like, that we're not ready for that yet. So you're going to have to wait until I graduate, and then we can make that decision. And I was like, okay, cool. So I came up with a plan. I started picking up, I started learning different things, like things that I felt that could help me with a new job. So I like took courses and things, and things like that. And so I came up with a game plan. I knew what I wanted to do. I saved money so that I could finish out my contract, get paid in the summer, and apply during those months. And then if I still didn't have a job after I got my last teaching paycheck, then I would have money saved and we would be fine. So all I'm saying is I feel that I wish that I would have not been so scared to leave a place that was making me unhappy, because I had all these clouds in my mind, and like, I know a lot of people in that video were also like, well, it's different when you have a family and things like that. Well, I did have a family. I had a 9-month-old when I quit, and I have a mortgage, like, we have bills too. So I was taking a big risk, but if I wouldn't have taken that risk, I would have gone back to teaching, and I would not have been as happy as I am now. I feel that, I just learned that, like I said, work-life balance is so important, and your quality of life is truly completely different. I'm able to work remote now, and I'm able to see my husband all day because he works remote too, which is a good thing. Sometimes, you need space, but it's nice to be here together. And like, I get to see my kid all day long because, he stays home with us. Like, I have made a schedule for myself, and my husband and I both have a schedule where we can take care of our child at home, and we get to spend all day with him. And that has been like the best thing ever. And that's not going to be realistic for everyone when you leave teaching. I know that. I'm lucky in a sense. I know it won't last forever. But I'm able to do that now. And so whatever it is that you're looking for me, it was a work-life balance, being able to be there for my family and still obviously grow in my career. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, set those goals for yourself and find ways to achieve them, because there are ways. It's not always going to be a overnight thing. This was not an overnight thing for me. I had to really work to get to this place. But once I did, I'm telling you, like, it's worth it. If you're no longer happy in a job, don't stay at it, because for what? And that doesn't even, like, not even if you're just a teacher, in any job. If you're not happy, don't stay. Find a way to be happy. And I saw this girl on TikTok, and this is a really rambly video, by the way. Like I said, I literally didn't plan anything for it, but it's just my thoughts after, being out of teaching for a while. So I saw this girl on TikTok say that she was no longer chasing her dream job. She was looking for a job that allowed her to live her dream life. And I love that. I think when you go to college or as you're growing up, everyone always asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And for some people, it's always like, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I've always wanted to be a doctor. I've always wanted to be this. And so you grow up with this perception that that is all you can be. For me, it wasn't that way, just because like I never wanted to be a teacher growing up. I kind of considered it, but that wasn't like my thing, like that I said I always wanted to do. But once I got into teaching, I just felt like that's what everyone knew about me. Everyone was like, Kat's a teacher, Kat, whatever. It's just like, it became my identity. And I didn't know how to snap out of it. It's the oddest thing. I feel like if you're in those kind of professions, like if you're a firefighter, a policeman, like everyone just always, that's just who you are. It becomes your identity. But anyway, so like I was saying, where I am now, what I'm looking for is to have a job and a career, obviously grow in my career, but I'm no longer looking for like my dream job. I would obviously love to have a dream job, and I obviously really care about liking what I'm doing. But I'm just more so looking to have a job that fulfills me and allows me to live the life that I want to live with my family. So, with that being said, if a job no longer fills my cup, is that like a saying? Yeah. If a job no longer fulfills me or allows me to live the life that I want to live, then I just don't want to do it anymore. So that's just kind of how I feel about that. So back to, I guess, the education realm. I still, like I said, work in education, and I have a lot of friends who are still educators now, and it just sucks to see a lot of the things that teachers are facing right now. I think that a lot of the things that I faced last year are still happening now, and I just saw a bill that's supposed to pass. I don't know if is it in Idaho, Iowa? I don't know. Where teachers have to submit a year of lesson plans to parents. What? First of all, that education is the only job that literally, like, makes you do things like that. No other job would make you submit things to people who, it just makes no sense. Like, having to submit a year's worth of lesson plans to parents, first of all. Second of all, as a parent, to be honest, I'm not gonna read that. Like, a whole year full of lesson plans, I'm not reading that. And the parents who do read it are the parents who are gonna sit there and be like, you know, literally like talking crap about what the poor teacher has worked so hard to do. And it's like, it bothers me that education allows others who don't work in the profession to like talk to people like teachers so negatively, and how like, just honestly, how disrespectful. That's just really what I have to say. I can only imagine submitting my lesson plans at the beginning of the year, something I worked so hard on, because who has the time to write a full year of lesson plans? And like, that's just dumb. And then submitting it to parents and then being like, no, we don't like how this looks. No, we don't want you teaching this. Like, what? No. And then second of all, I feel that a teacher should not write their lessons a year in advance. You should obviously, like, as the year goes on, you should, you know, go with the flow of how your students are learning, first of all. What if you want to adjust your lesson plans? Like, how does that work? Like, I wouldn't even feel comfortable with my son. Like, if my son was in kindergarten and their teacher submitting a lesson plan, I would just feel like, well, is this gonna like be scripted? Are you going to monitor and adjust how students are learning? How, like, what if she wants to add something because, I don't know, like, just seems so odd and honestly disrespectful. So I understand why teachers are feeling this way. And that honestly just has to do with the education system. If the education system does not change the way it works, great, amazing teachers are gonna quit. Like, that's any job, right? And so it just sucks, and I just feel for everyone who was commenting on my video and everyone I know in person, or just people who are dealing with a lot of these things. I think too, behaviors are on the rise, and it's hard, right? Having challenging behavior in your classroom is hard, and I don't think that that teachers have had the opportunity to be trained enough to be able to deal with a lot of the things that kids are also going through. Because at the end of the day, you know, kids are kids, and they're going through things, and they are acting a certain way because maybe something else is happening in their life. And as teachers, you don't get that training to maybe be able to understand and know what to do to help those students. And so I think overall, teachers aren't being taken care of, and that's why, you know, they're feeling that way. So like I said, if you are in that point in your career in education where you no longer feel valued, you just don't feel like this is for you anymore, I just think that, and I would say this to anyone, doctors, dentists, whatever, if you're no longer happy, come up with a plan to figure out how you can take the steps to get to where you want to be. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be from one day to another, but know that you will get there if you put your mind to it. And And maybe, maybe I know some people that I know are like, I just want to take a break from education, maybe try something else, but deep down inside, my heart is still in teaching. Then maybe, come back and try something else. And if your heart is still in teaching, then do it. And, I think that sometimes if you're only doing something for so long, you don't realize that there's other things out there. And maybe if you go somewhere and the grass isn't greener on the other side, then you can always go back. So those are just my thoughts. I think for me, overall, I'm happier, I have a better work-life balance. I think, thriving in what I'm doing now, and it was the best decision. It was a long time coming. It took a long time. It was over a year that I had this in my head I was gonna do. Yeah, find what you wanna do, find ways to get there, and if you still love teaching, and if you don't want to do anything else, then that's okay. And know that I think that I think education is like an ebb and flow. There are times when things are so good and you're like, this is why I'm doing this. Like today showed me why I want to be a teacher. And then there are days where you're like, today is the reason why I don't want to be a teacher anymore. So I think that there are ebb and flows, like I said. But I think COVID has obviously caused a huge impact on what the classroom looks like right now, and hopefully it doesn't look like that forever. But if you are still passionate about it, then obviously, stay, because we need teachers who are passionate to teach our children. So yeah, overall, this was really ranty. But if you have any questions about anything related to how I quit teaching, well, obviously how I quit teaching, I just quit, but just how I made that transition, kind of how I planned what I was going to do. I do have a video on how I kind of found a niche in what I wanted to apply to in jobs, but I can definitely, answer any questions if you have any. And if you are still in the classroom and you're feeling defeated, take care of yourself, find ways to make yourself, mentally, to take care of yourself mentally and physically, because you have to take care of yourself because you're important. And yeah, that's all I got. So thank you so much for watching this very random video, but I wanted to just do it to kind of give y'all my thoughts on how I feel. How long has it been? May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, 9 months. 9 months after quitting teaching. All right, guys, well, that is it. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Hit this like button if you liked this video, and subscribe to my channel if you like watching random things like this. Lifestyle, beauty, sometimes mom-related content. I would love for you to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.